For the sake of timeliness and, I guess, accuracy, I really hope this player doesn't get traded by the time this video gets uploaded. There might be a trade, there might not be, depending on how Kyle Dubas is able to do his job. But today we're going over to the Toronto Maple Leafs, and specifically a guy who is technically a part of the Marlies, I guess. We're going over some trade rumors involving some other teams in the NHL and how this player could be linked to a former home back in Philadelphia, as well as a potential rival in Ottawa too. Let's talk today about Toronto Maple Leafs forward Wayne Simmonds and what exactly he's been up to when it comes to his entire story and how he's related to these two teams. We'll go over all this and more right after a quick word from today's sponsor. You ever wanted to play football your way? Well, you're in luck, because Top 11 is a free-to-play football management mobile game available on Google Play, the App Store, Huawei, Microsoft stores, and web browsers. It's an entire football universe in your pocket where you're in charge of every aspect of your club. From signing a team of superstars to creating your own stadium, the award-winning mobile football manager game has already been played by 260 million players worldwide and has a rating of 4.6 out of 5 stars from more than 5.5 million reviews. You can play with your friends, win championships, customize your ground, collect jerseys and emblems, and a lot more. 3D Live Match in Top 11 lets you see your tactics come to life in a really exciting and immersive way. Try Top 11 and feel like a boss when being on the touchline with your players. And 4 exciting competitions happen in every Top 11 season: the League, the Cup, the Champions League, and the Super League. So what are you waiting for? Become your own football genius with Top 11 by downloading the game, clicking the link in the description below. It's all at your fingertips, and it's all in Top 11. So, Wayne Simmonds, I think everybody kind of is familiar with him and his services. He's 34 years old, 6'3", 181 as a right-handed forward, drafted all the way back by LA in 2007. He had been a pretty alright LA King, scoring 40 points in 09-2010. He also became a Philadelphia Flyer shortly after, posting up a career high of 60 points in multiple seasons in 2013-14 and 15-16. Simmonds was a power forward who could go out there and score some pretty nice goals. He could get some assists as well, but he was more touted as a goal scorer, I feel. And he also logged a heck of a lot of penalty minutes, because the Wayne train absolutely had no intention of slowing down for anybody. He would be a physical machine, going out there laying big body checks, and he was not afraid to answer the bell when necessary. Simmonds built this reputation of being an all-round power forward who could also get it done on the score sheet. Sure, I would not say that Wayne Simmonds was as skilled technically as a guy like Tom Wilson is nowadays, but Simmonds was still able to go out there and produce multiple 30-goal and near 30-goal seasons too. He had spent his heyday with the Philadelphia Flyers in the mid-2010s, and he was an absolute beast in that system, but eventually things started to slow down as he made his way over to other teams. Not only did Wayne Simmonds get older, but he also got sent around a few times. He played in Nashville in 2018-19, New Jersey in 2019-20, Buffalo at the end of that season, and then made his way over to the Toronto Maple Leafs to provide a veteran leadership presence alongside of guys like Jason Spezza and Joe Thornton. It was very weird seeing all of these guys on the same line because the combined age was like 100 years old. It was kind of crazy seeing how old everybody was. And Wayne Simmonds, I mean, of course, he wasn't going out there scoring 30 goals anymore. I mean, he had 7 goals and 2 assists in 38 games in 2020-2021 and 16 points in 72 games last season with the Maple Leafs. But there were a few instances where the veteran, aging guys went out there and made some pretty good plays. There was one passing play in particular where I believe it was Spezza and Simmonds. They absolutely threw it back to the early 2010s with the amount of passing that they were able to do before burying the biscuit. But either way, Wayne Simmonds is an NHL veteran, and he's only making $900,000 a year till the end of this season. And it became apparent earlier this season that the Toronto Maple Leafs just didn't really feel the need to have Simmonds on their roster anymore. They wanted to go other directions when it comes to younger guys and players that provide different skill sets. And so, for Wayne, Kyle Dubas has always been a pretty good bro to players on the Maple Leafs who probably would excel in other situations around the league. You had seen this with the different Russian players, Barabanov comes to mind, etc., etc. And with Wayne Simmonds, even though he isn't a Russian guy, there still was that sense of, hey, Kyle Dubas wants to go out there and do Wayne a solid by not burying the guy in the AHL, but giving him an opportunity to stick around somewhere in the National Hockey League. This was reported by Chris Johnston 2 days ago that the Toronto Maple Leafs winger Wayne Simmonds remains in limbo after clearing waivers on Monday. He still wants to play and would prefer to stay with the Leafs. However, something would have to change with the roster, such as injuries or something in the salary cap picture, for him to rejoin their lineup. Simmonds is being patient, and he's also skating with the Leafs' injured players. He's open to being traded, preferably to a contender. This is where we start to go over other rumors that have popped up surrounding Wayne and where he could eventually end up. This is an article on Sportsnet published by Luke Fox from a few days ago on October 10th. It's titled How the Maple Leafs Landed on Their NHL Roster and Why They Might Open Short. The last part of the piece goes over the Simmonds situation, and it talks about how Simmonds was placed on waivers and he actually cleared. Where does he go from here? The past 3 weeks have not been easy on the proud 1,000-game power forward, but he has conducted himself like a true professional throughout. Simmonds, 34, has never played an AHL game in his pro career. Does he report to the Marlies, ride the bus and wait for an injury, or a match in need of his truculence? Or is he granted a trade to a roster where he can be of immediate NHL impact? There is will in the engine and gas in the tank. Speculation has a return to Philadelphia as one potential option worth exploring, and Nick Kyprios reports that the Ottawa Senators have at least some level of interest. Spicy. That Simmonds has already cleared waivers, making him easier and more movable via trade, and according to Elliot Friedman, Dubas has emailed the rest of the league, making him available. Keep an eye on this situation as the Leafs and Simmonds work towards a resolution. So, let's go over the two teams that are highlighted here, the Sens and the Flyers. Sorry, it took us like 6 minutes to get there, almost 7. That's my bad. But when it comes to Wayne Simmonds and the Philadelphia Flyers, obviously, I feel like this type of move, sending him back over to Philly, would be a lot more of a fan-servicey move, rather than one setting Simmonds up with a pretty good level of NHL success towards the end of his career, because the Flyers now are not as great as the Flyers had been when Simmonds was back with that squad in the mid-2010s. Sure, you could say they got a bit better after Simmonds left because that's when they were one of the better teams in the bubble playoffs, but still, the Flyers nowadays, I mean, John Tortorella going out there and saying that there's absolutely no identity with the team, it kind of speaks for itself, and a lot of people were going out there looking at the roster, looking at the fans booing Ryan Ellis and just saying, yeah, it's going to be a tough year for Philadelphia. Connor Bedard definitely seems to be something that they're eyeing. Meanwhile, you have yourselves an Ottawa Senators team that's supposed to be a lot better than they had been in the past. And when it comes to what they've been doing, Alex DeBrincat, you take a look at Cam Talbot, of course, when he comes back, and then you have all the other players as well, Claude Giroux going over to Ottawa, Wayne Simmonds being an addition to this team, could potentially have the same impact that a lot of Maple Leafs fans thought it would with their organization. Simmonds is a guy that can definitely mesh well, I feel, on a team like the Ottawa Senators, where everybody's sort of just talking about the youth. Everybody's talking about the younger guys that are growing into their own, and you still have some other players that are physical, like Brady Tkachuk, for example. The bottom six already has a lot of energy with guys like Tyler Mott, and if you add on that physical presence in the Wayne train, it definitely would make your team a lot more difficult to play against. Also, if there is a connection with Claude Giroux, Simmonds is like, hey, Claude, I played with you for a long freaking time in Philadelphia. What's it like over there in Ottawa? And Claude's like, yeah, it's great. I came here for a reason because I wanted to come home. Maybe Wayne's like, sure, I want to go there too. It would be very nice having that connection reestablished itself in a different team. Of course, I know a lot of Philadelphia Flyers fans might watch the Ottawa Senators with tearful eyes, seeing Wayne and Claude doing their things, but either way, if the Flyers are indeed still in the market for a guy like Wayne Simmonds, it would most likely be just a fan-servicey type of move. I guess you could say, oh, but Philadelphia won their first game of the NHL season, and Ottawa, I mean, they haven't gotten off to the right start yet. That's definitely fair, but I think as 82 games goes out there and commences, we'll definitely see the Ottawa Senators and their potential showcase itself on the win column more so than Philadelphia. But either way, talk to the comments your thoughts about the idea of Wayne Simmonds heading over to Philadelphia once again, or to Ottawa. What do the Toronto Maple Leafs do? Where do they trade this guy? And if you're a Maple Leafs fan, what are you honestly expecting to get as a return piece for Wayne Simmonds? I don't really think you should be shooting for the moon here, but either way, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Shout out to Top 11 for sponsoring today's video. Big thank you over to the folks over there. It's a great game. Go ahead and download it on whichever application store represents your mobile device. But talk in the comments either way all your thoughts about Simmonds and the Sens and or Flyers. I hope you enjoyed this video. Rolls 99 and bye.